Kindergarten 5.2 Interactive Read Aloud.
The Pine Tree, based on a fairy tale by Hans Christian Andersen. How does a tree change as it grows? A young pine tree lived in a great forest near a clearing. He enjoyed watching the animals, feeling the morning sun on his branches, and resting in the cool afternoon shadows. The pine tree was very happy with his life. One day, a truck burst into the clearing. A logger cut down several of the enormous adult pine trees. Whack, whack, whack went his axe. Then the logger loaded up the trees and drove away. I wonder where my tree friends are going, thought the little pine tree. Then he spoke to 3 young sparrows sitting on a nearby branch. Would you please follow those big trees? He asked. I want to know what will happen to them. The sparrows shook their heads in agreement and flew away. The first sparrow followed one of the huge pine trees. She flew high above the tree as it rode on the truck. After a long trip, the truck finally stopped at a building near the ocean. For many weeks, the sparrow watched the tree. Busy workers used tools to cut and shape the tree into a mast. Then they attached the mast to a large sailboat. 2 days later, the boat sailed out to sea. The sparrow quickly flew back to the forest to share her news with the little pine tree. The big pine is now the mast of a beautiful sailboat, she said. I watched it sail away this morning. That sounds amazing, said the little pine tree. I don't want to be small anymore. I want to grow up so the loggers will cut me down too. I want to be part of a sailboat. I want to have adventures on the ocean. The sparrow chirped back at the pine tree. I think you should be happy where you are, right here in the forest, she said. The second and third sparrows returned to the forest after a few months. They told the pine tree what they had seen. I followed 2 of the big trees to a factory and then to a house, said the second sparrow. The trees were used to make a wooden window seat. Every night I sat outside a family's home as a mother, a father, and 2 children sat on the seat and read stories together. Then the third sparrow chirped about what she had seen. I followed the rest of the trees, she said. I flew far away to a dusty lumber yard. I waited for a long time to see what would happen to the trees, but nothing did. The trees are still stacked up in a pile, and they are starting to rot away. The pine tree thought for a moment. I wish I could be made into a window seat. I would love to hear stories and children's laughter every night. But I imagine that lying in a pile in a lumber yard wouldn't be very fun. Better to stay where you are, said one sparrow. Three more years passed. The seasons came and went, and the young pine tree changed. It grew twice as tall as it was when the logger first came to the forest. It began to develop thick, brown cones and seeds. Even its needles became longer. Then, on a spring day, the 3 sparrows visited the pine tree. Do you still wish to be cut down? One of the sparrows asked. No, the pine tree replied. I am much wiser now. If I were to become a ship, I would miss the birds and the other animals here. If I were to become a window seat, I would miss the fresh air and sunshine. And if somebody were to dump me in a lumber yard, I would never again get to feel the soft ground around my roots. I'm content here in the forest. We are happy here too, said another sparrow. We have explored many places, but the forest will always be our home. Over the years, the little pine grew into a strong, tall tree, and the logger never came to the forest again.